Imagine being locked between two concave mirrors. In front of you sits a specialist who never touches you. He merely focuses, and you are told he is trying to draw a simple geometric shape in your mind. What sounds like science fiction was, according to declassified intelligence, part of experiments carried out and monitored during the Cold War. How far did they go? And why would a state invest in this kind of research? During the Cold War, the competition between superpowers wasn't only missiles and satellites. It was also a race to control and understand the human mind. Both East and West poured resources into programs that blurred the line between science and pseudoscience. Telepathy, remote perception, bioenergetic treatments. In this episode, we focus on a declassified CIA memo that describes alleged psychic experiments tied to clinics and a laboratory of non-traditional treatment in Novosibirsk. The memo, an intelligence report dated April 24, 1991, summarizes alleged activities at the Laboratory of Non-Traditional Treatment in Novosibirsk. It states that between 1987 and 1988, roughly 3,000 patients received non-traditional medical treatment, which included what the memo calls psychic methods. The document describes techniques such as volunteers placed before concave mirrors, attempts by operators to transmit simple geometric images mentally to subjects in another room, and treatments labeled as bioenergetic. The methods mentioned are striking and repetitive in their imagery. Volunteers seated in front of concave mirrors used by experimenters to focus attention or energy. An operator attempting to send a simple geometric shape or image to a subject who cannot see the sender. Treatments presented in medical settings as forms of bioenergy therapy, sometimes applied to psychiatric or medical patients. These descriptions mix clinical language with more ambiguous, quasi-ritual procedures, a blend that made Western analysts both curious and cautious. The memo references local researchers and clinics by name and mentions figures associated with regional scientific institutions. Some of those names appear in Russian bibliographies of the era. It means Western intelligence was tracking these activities closely enough to write them up. Why would any state invest in such intangible research? The answer is strategic incentive. If even a marginal form of remote perception, mind-to-mind transmission, or influence could be harnessed, it would have profound military value. During the Cold War, the mere potential was reason enough to investigate. Both the USSR and the United States funded programs exploring remote viewing and other psychic phenomena. The strategic gamble was clear. The payoff, if real, could be enormous. From a modern scientific perspective, robust, reproducible evidence for telepathy or controlled transmission of complex images is absent. The memo's descriptions typically lack the methodological detail necessary for scientific verification. There is little information about controls, blinding procedures, repeatability, and peer review. The document includes striking anecdotes, reports of healing claims, experiments involving psychiatric patients, and descriptions that read more like field notes than controlled trials. This mixture of clinical terms with reports of the esoteric is precisely why intelligence services flagged the activities as noteworthy, even if they remained skeptical about actual efficacy. Beyond the mystery and the spectacle lies an ethical dimension. Experiments involving patients, especially psychiatric or vulnerable populations, raise serious questions about consent and potential harm. The memo does not provide exhaustive answers about whether informed consent was obtained or whether subjects suffered adverse effects. History of Cold War-era research shows that ethical safeguards were often minimal or absent. This was not a uniquely Soviet pursuit. The United States ran programs such as Stargate, which investigated remote viewing for intelligence purposes. The parallel programs in East and West show a broader pattern. Rivalry pushed both sides to test extraordinary possibilities. Comparing the Soviet reports with declassified American programs gives better context. It turns this from a fringe curiosity into a strategic phenomenon of the era. Programs and rumors about psychic research fed literature, film, and public imagination for decades. These stories endure because they combine secrecy, the language of science, and the personal, a recipe that captivates and unsettles. Whether true or exaggerated, these programs shaped how people thought about state power, the limits of science, and the ethics of research. The Novosibirsk memo does not prove that telepathy works. What it does prove is that states were willing to explore the unknown in pursuit of advantage. That mix of ambition, secrecy, and ethical ambiguity is the real story. And it helps us understand how a superpower once tried to weaponize not just matter and energy, but the human mind itself. If you want to read the memo yourself, I'll include a link in the description to the declassified document. Subscribe for more investigations where history, science, and secrecy collide. Thank you for watching.